So I want to do a review of Star Trek: The Motion Picture. And when I just got done watching the director's edition, so I'll do a review. Now, if you haven't seen this movie, there's going to be a lot of spoilers in this review. All right, first of all, basic story. There is an energy cloud in space that has just destroyed 3 Klingon battle cruisers. All right. Also, it has destroyed a Federation space station, which I think was more of a listening station. All right. So, the only ship that's in range to intercept this giant space cloud, energy cloud or whatever, is the Enterprise, which is undergoing right now a major refit. Okay. In the TV series, you had a series of minor upgrades, but this is a major refit that has drastically changed the interior and exterior of the ship. Kirk, who is now an admiral and no longer serving aboard the Enterprise, uses this opportunity to go to Starfleet and says, hey, you need my experience I need to be back in charge of the Enterprise. And he bumps down the current captain down to first officer. Okay. Along the way, they pick up Spock, who is undergoing a ritual to purge all emotions from himself. Okay. They travel to this giant energy cloud in space. They figure out how to communicate with it. Okay. The energy cloud sends a probe aboard their ship, and it sort of destroys or duplicates Lieutenant Elea, who is a Deltan, who is now the navigator aboard the ship, while Mr. Chekhov has been moved over to the weapons station. Okay. It duplicates her and makes a sort of robotic android version of her that is a perfect duplicate that still seems to have some of her feelings and emotions. There's a little love story between her and Commander Decker, who kind of kicked her to the curb. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. All right. I find out that V'ger is actually a Voyager probe that was sent out centuries ago, came across a group of beings who are living machines who took it and upgraded it. Okay. I think Voyager's programming was damaged. It doesn't quite remember everything, so now it wants to go back and find its creator. You see, V'ger has amassed vast knowledge, but it is still cold and dead inside because it's a machine. It has no feelings, no imagination. So it wants to find its creator to help it evolve, and that's cool. Okay, so that's the basic storyline. Now, I'm going to give you the pros and cons the way I see them. Okay, first of all, man, the effects of this movie are great. Okay, probably some of the best effects I've seen in a Star Trek movie ever. Okay, some of the best effects in a science fiction film I've seen, at least in that time period. Okay, the effects still look good, and I'm not just talking about the director's edition. Any version of this picture had great effects. Okay, even though the director edition does look the best, it just looks way better. Okay, they added a few computer effects here, but everything looks good. Everything fits together. This movie all had great effects. The model work is great. Matter of fact, the model work is so good that they used some of these scenes for Wrath of Khan. And the model work here, probably in my opinion, looks for the ships may look better than Wrath of Khan in Search of Spock, and definitely looks better than Final Frontier. Okay. It was nice to see the original cast back together again. If you're a person who just watched came from watching the original series and hadn't had a movie or any Star Trek for a good period of time, it was nice to see the original cast back together. And I think they even got everybody. You even had Nurse Chapel, who's a doctor now. Janice Rand, okay, who was Kirk's yeoman. And they even had Mark Leonard, who played a Romulan commander in one episode. But most people will probably know him as playing Spock's father. Okay. He's here. And that's nice, man. That's nice to have all these different characters, even little minor characters, to have them back on board the ship now. Okay. Even though some of them didn't get big roles. But that was cool. Okay. Um, man, the ship looks better than ever. Everything looks better than ever. You see how a big movie budget really affected things, okay? The design of the Enterprise looks great, okay? I know some people said that, this is the first time in them that they actually took it serious as a real ship. The Enterprise always looked great, in my opinion. All they did was take the original design and just make it look way better without losing anything that made the original good, in my opinion. Okay, it looks great here. Special effects look great. The effects for beating up looks great. Everything has been pumped up visually. Okay, the uniforms, the ship, and everything. Sound effects are great. I love the film score. Excellent film score. Okay. It was so good that they used it. They used some of it for Star Trek: The Next Generation. Okay. It was that good. We got to use it. We got to use it again. Okay. I would say even the storyline is very interesting. Okay. Very interesting, ominous storyline, man. It may not seem as much now, but when you first watch this movie, you don't know the storyline, okay? And it's like, dang, okay, what is V'ger? What is this big giant cloud, this energy cloud in space, man? It just destroyed 3 Klingon battleships, 3 battle cruisers. It destroyed the space station, okay? The Enterprise, it almost wrecks the Enterprise until they figure out how to communicate with it. And even once they make it inside this energy cloud, and when they're going through space and they're seeing all these like interesting special effects and stuff, and they're seeing inside this cloud, you're seeing that basically entire planets are inside this thing, it's everything. Like some kind of way, when it destroys something, it brings it inside, like recreate a physical, some type of recreation of what it has destroyed. It's stored within this cloud. And dude, it just looks like, wow, it's excellent. Looks real weird. Looks excellent. And you're like, man, what is this thing, man? What is this thing? What are you going to find here? Is it a ship? Is it a omnipotent alien being? What is this? Okay. You don't know what this thing is. Even when you find out that it's called V'ger, you don't know what V'ger is. This movie had an interesting tone, a somber tone that I found very interesting. Okay. It was very good. Okay. And I think the storyline was very good. You had these interesting parallels, okay, between Spock and V'ger. Well, Spock is lost and trying to find himself, and V'ger's kind of find himself. So in a way, V'ger is trying to find God. Isn't that what we all do, in a sense? That so many religions, we want to get closer to God. Who am I? Where did I come from? What's my purpose in life, I think that was real good. In a way, it wasn't just V'ger or just Spock. Kirk comes to the Enterprise and he takes it back because he realizes his place is on board that ship. Okay. In a sense, Kirk was trying to find out where he belonged at. He belongs in the ship. Okay. A lot of people on board here had to find out where they belonged. Okay. Like I said, a real good storyline. I liked it a lot. Personally, I think one of the best storylines in any of the Star Trek films, and a good storyline, period. A lot of interesting, good scientific things that are going on, like the nature of humanity. Okay. So, man, this movie had a lot going for it. It had a lot of good things going for it. Okay. Now. Oh, well, hold on. Before I get to the bad stuff, there's a few other things I'd like to talk about. Lieutenant Ilia. I really liked her character. I love the actor. Very attractive. I'm sorry. I'm going to tell you the truth. I found her to be very attractive, very likable. I liked her character. I like she's a Delta and she has this ability to take away pain. I also like the little love story between her and Commander Decker. I wish they had more time to expand on that. Okay. I like the headbutting between Decker and Kirk. Okay. Decker isn't stupid, okay? He knows that Kirk wants to keep the Enterprise, okay? For Captain Kirk, Enterprise basically is his woman. He wants his woman back, okay? He wants his ex-wife back, okay? Decker's and dumb. He knows Kirk pretty much is going to try and figure out how to keep this ship, okay? So that's a little headbutt. Also, Kirk is kind of inexperienced in some senses because he's unfamiliar with this design. Okay, at least one point in the ship, he's pushing too hard. He almost gets them killed. Okay, there's an imbalance in the warp engine. They need more time to fix it. He's like, no, we gotta go. We have to do this now. This alien is coming. We gotta go intercept it. He he forces them to go to warp. It creates like a wormhole or something like that. And they almost get killed because there's an asteroid and he says, hey, go and, turn on, let's use the phasers. Now he's unfamiliar with this new design. He doesn't realize that the phasers channel power through the warp engines. And when the engines go down, phasers go down. Okay. And Decker has to save them and said, belay that order, launch a photon torpedo. Okay. So there's a couple little situations like that, where they're butting heads over Kirk's inexperience. Also, Kirk and Decker both have different styles. Kirk is kind of hard charging. Man, we got to do this. We got to go. I don't care. Decker's like, oh, no, hold on, man. Hold on. I urge caution. No, we don't want to do this. So I kind of like that interaction with them. Okay, I wish we could have got more of that. All right. Like I said, so good picture, man. Now, let me go to some of the stuff that I thought they made a mistake on. Okay. Stuff I thought was a problem. Okay. And there's a good amount of that. All right. First of all, the pace of the picture. Okay. While this version, the director's edition, is better pacing, it's still kind of slow and plodding for people who want more of an action-paced film. Man, when I first watched this film, I won't lie, I was younger. The pace really got on my nerves, man. It was like, all right, man, how long are they going to fly through space and go through inside this cloud looking at all these cool looking, admittedly cool looking stuff. But, V'ger is creepy. You're sitting there wondering about what V'ger is, but V'ger is not, it's not really an enemy in the sense that some of the enemies of the original TV show Khan was, okay? The movie was a little bit too slow, man. I really feel like they should have broken up that with some type of action scenes. I don't even care if the movie had to be longer, okay? What I really feel like they should have did is have those three Klingon ships. Maybe had the Klingons send out two more Klingon ships or one more Klingon ship and have those ships battle the Enterprise and have the Enterprise have to destroy one or two of them or something, some type of space battle. They could have the Klingons send out more ships and attack the Enterprise. The Enterprise wrecks them or something. Or had the Klingons beam aboard the Enterprise and had a phaser battle, something. They really needed at least one good battle to break up, to break it up a little bit, man. It was just a little too much talking, a little bit too much flying in space for a lot of people. And I understand it didn't really bother me as much as other people, but I understand that. This movie really needed like 2 action scenes, man. I'm going to be honest with you, okay? They could have kept the storyline, but at least 2 action scenes. Also, like I mentioned before, V'ger is an interesting being, okay? Up until the end, you're just like, who is V'ger? What is V'ger? When I first watched this movie, that was great. But V'ger is not really a character that's on screen. You're talking about it. You see its power, but you can't, it's not like, you can get a good sense of it, like, say, something like Khan. I feel like they should have brought in a Klingon captain, okay? Maybe a Klingon from the original TV series. And have them fighting Kirk to get to V'ger, okay? They could have at least, like, 2 or 3 good battles. Because I'm trying to get to Kirk. They gave them somebody to fight, That would have helped a lot with this movie, okay? Also, man, special effects are great. The ship looks great. The interior of the ship is kind of drab and lifeless, man. You go back and you watch the original show. That ship was very colorful. The interior was very colorful, okay? The bridge was colorful. They had splashes of pink on the walls. The doors were colored. And you know what, man? You would think that would look kind of silly and ridiculous in a film. I don't know. Honestly, the Enterprise and the interior looked more vibrant and more lifelike in the original TV series, okay? When I first watched this movie, I loved the exterior of the ship, but the interior looked great, but it looked dead to me. It looked dead, like a dead, gray-looking type of thing. There's no color. There was no life to me. Okay. That doesn't bother me now that I'm older, but I do think it was kind of a shock coming from the original series to this. That's why in Wrath of Khan, the director actually painted he painted the bridge a darker color and gave them red uniforms because there was a lack of color in the original film of motion picture. And I think that was a mistake. Okay. Also with their uniforms. Okay. These new uniforms don't look bad, but they should have either kept the old uniforms or made an updated version of the old uniforms. Okay. Oh, I don't think you say that colorful look wouldn't work. Wrath of Khan had more colorful uniforms. The more colorful uniforms worked on Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, these Star Trek films, and even the new Star Trek films made a updated version of the original uniforms, but they kept the original uniforms. Okay. The motion picture, the interior of the ship just looked kind of drab and dead, man. They needed more color to it. And they should have made the ship more colorful. They should have kept the more colorful uniforms. Just make them look better, okay? Like you did with Wrath of Khan, like they did with the new Star Trek pictures, okay? Also, another thing, okay? The characterization of certain characters was just off, okay? Spock was always logical, but Spock had a human side to him. He was not this drab, morose individual that he was for the most part in this movie. Okay. He had a brotherly type of relationship with Kirk and Spock. Okay. Okay. You had him and McCoy just bickering, talking trash to each other. Okay. That wasn't here. Okay. The original show, Kirk. They probably wouldn't have time to get into it, but I like how Kirk, you saw that he was lonely because he was not allowed to sleep with anybody under his command. There was rules that in the Federation said you could not do that. So as captain of the ship, he was very lonely, which is why he constantly would engage with those different women. Okay. None of that here. Okay. You don't have Chekhov cracking his jokes about little old lady from Russia inventing everything. You hear her playing her musical instruments and Sulu doing whatever Sulu did, okay? Or Mr. Scott getting ripped off Romulan L, okay? Now, I know you might say some of that stuff might sound kind of silly to you, or I don't think it belongs in this movie. I disagree, because those things make these characters a little more relatable, a little more human. I mean, you already have a show where none of the main characters really have issues, okay? You can't, in a TV show that, they're not, none of them are drug addicts or have other real huge, serious human flaws like that. So those characterizations really helped make them more human, okay? Occasionally, Mr. Scott liked to have a little drink, okay? A few drinks too many, okay? You got to see that you heard was musically inclined. You got to see, Chekhov cracking his little jokes, okay? Spock and McCoy having this brotherly relationship. Mr. Spock and McCoy bickering. That helped. That helped a lot. That made them more human. That was missing in this film. And that's one of the main things a lot of people noticed when they first watched this film, that, hey, that was missing, okay? Also, man, I don't really understand the thing with Spock and V'ger. Early on in the film, when he was taking his Kolinar, whatever, trying to purge all his human emotions or whatever, the lady tells him that something is reaching out to your mind, the human side of your mind, okay? And Spock had to go find it. Now, why did it reach out to Kirk and the rest of the human crew, since they're full human, okay? I get they was trying to make a parallel between Spock and V'ger, that they both was kind of lost in trying to find themselves, but I still never understood all these years why Spock had this special connection with V'ger. I get later on where he tried to mind meld with him, but even early on, he had some kind of connection. I wish they could have delved into that just a little bit more, okay? Also, man, I actually have to say, I wasn't the biggest fan of Commander Decker when I was younger, but he grew on me over the years. I started liking his character, okay? I kind of wish we had gotten more of Commander Decker. I wish he been able to come back in another film or two. Honestly, I kind of wish they had actually, when they actually did another TV series instead of the films. Okay, I know a lot of fans will probably disagree with that. I feel that Star Trek has always been its best in TV. Lieutenant Ilea. Sorry if I'm pronouncing her name wrong. I never can get that right. I liked her. I liked the actor. I would like to have seen more of her. The whole thing with her being able to take away pain, I would like to have that explained a little bit more and delved into that a little bit more, which if it was a TV series, you would have had more time. Okay. That's unfortunate. Okay. Also, one issue in this movie, which honestly is a problem in a lot of the original Star Trek films, besides Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, none of the other original cast got to really do anything. I like her. She don't really get to do anything. Chekhov, Mr. Scott, Mr. Sulu. Besides a throwaway line here or there, they really don't get to do anything, man. And it's kind of a shame, okay? It's kind of a shame that each picture, most of the movies, they don't get to do jack, okay? I really wish they have gotten a little bit more time, a little bit to do something, or add more to the plot. It's too bad that they didn't do like a director's cut where maybe they could have filmed way more stuff, like a ton of extra footage like they do these days and giving them more parts. I would like to have seen more Commander Decker and Lieutenant Ilea in their relationship. I don't know, man. But like I said, I get what Gene Roddenberry was trying to do. He was trying to grow up Star Trek. Okay? And for the most part, I think it really does work. But he went away from too many of the things that made Star Trek good. People were watching these movies to see an updated version of the original show, not to get away to be embarrassed by the elements of the original show. And that's, I think, what happens a lot of times when people are adapting things, okay? Whether it's a comic book, movie, TV show, or whatever, it's like they're kind of embarrassed by certain elements of the source material, okay? And they don't realize that sometimes the source material, those elements is what made the source material good. Maybe a show might be a little campy, or it might have some goofy parts, or it may have something that you think is silly, whatever, okay? People like those elements, okay? And you need to keep those elements. You shouldn't be embarrassed of the source material, okay? It's kind of like Superman. Man of Steel, just call him Superman, okay? You know, I think that's probably the biggest failing of this movie. It's like they tried to get away from certain elements of the original show. They wanted to grow it up, and they wanted to get rid of certain elements that they thought were probably kind of silly. But those elements are elements that people like that should have stayed in this movie. That should have been in this movie, okay? Yeah. But, ultimately, I think this is a good film, man. I enjoy it. Honestly, it is flawed, but it's still one of the best Star Trek films. See, I have an ability. I can watch a movie, enjoy it, and still admit that it has issues, okay? And understand why other people may not like something, okay? Star Trek The Motion Picture, in my opinion, has some of the most flaws out of any of the Star Trek films, but it is still one of the best films. I think it's better. In some ways, I might put it above Search for Spock. I would definitely put it above Final Frontier, okay? I think it's better than some of the Next Generation films as well. It's one of the most flawed Star Trek films, but it's also one of the best Star Trek films. They did a lot of good stuff, okay? They did a lot of good things. They did a lot of good stuff, and I think I would definitely recommend this movie. I would say out of all the films, that this one has grown over me the most over the years, okay? As I get older, I appreciate more of what they were trying to do, okay? It's a good movie, man. And if you're a fan of Star Trek, it's definitely worth watching. I would recommend this to anybody who wants a good science fiction picture. And I'm kind of sad that some of the other movies that they sort of lessened Gene Roddenberry's input. You know, I actually liked what he was doing. I just think he needed to tweak it a little bit more and keep more elements of the original show. Maybe tone them down a little bit. The stuff that you might have thought was a little silly, but don't get rid of them because that's what fans like, okay? But, a good movie all in all and definitely worth watching.